Hey, everybody, and welcome back to The Warrior Way. I just watched a movie called Selfless. I don't know if anybody's seen it. It's about this guy who's dying, who gets a card from somebody, basically a doctor, who says that he could put him into this vessel, this other body, this younger version, and he could his consciousness could kind of travel from his ailing body to this healthy body, and basically making him live longer. And it gets into the concept of immortality. And we know that we're mortal, right? This human flesh, or what we can see from other human fleshes when we see other people, that other people die. Now, technically, we don't see ourselves die, we see everyone else die. So your own mortality is only based on watching other people die. So since you don't actually see yourself die, how do you even know if you die, right? But to say that you're immortal is not really something that people could understand unless you start understanding that there's God inside of you. Your consciousness, meaning the part behind this vessel, continues on forever. And it's irrelevant if this vessel goes or not because your consciousness continues on. I've mentioned before that as my mom has told me, asked me the question, I'm sure she got it from somewhere else, which is, did you ever remember not being here? In other words, do you ever remember not existing? And for me, the answer was pretty clear. No, I don't ever remember not being Yoni. And I don't think you ever remember not being whoever it is you are unless you start to become conscious, and then you could start remembering. People remember in meditations, people remember in dream states, people remember like deja vu, those kinds of things. And ultimately, you start to realize that you are immortal because the God inside of you lives on forever. And once you come to the realization that you live forever, you no longer want to feel that you do anything that's not aligned with your joy of life, with your pleasures of life, with your enjoyment, not pleasures out of seeking your desire to fulfill just pleasures, but to really have this joyous feeling, contentment of being able to be good every second. What starts to happen is actually if you start to realize you're here forever, there are certain people that feel like, well, if I'm here forever, I might as well collect so much power, 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 and figure out ways to collect power from each lifetime in a sense. And that's one way to live. But I ultimately feel that people live in the place of you don't end up having a lot of love because you don't end up loving yourself. You end up loving the true self behind it all. Because if you loved your true self, you wouldn't. None of that stuff matters. What starts to matter is the love you feel for the totality of what's happening in this world, in nature, your loved ones. Really, the love for yourself because you're projecting out yourself into the world in a sense that everything is a projection of your mind because we're really one with it all. This entire world is one, which obviously means if that's really the case, and in Judaism they say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, listen, O Israel, Hashem is your God, and Hashem is one, meaning Hashem, the name, that means the name, but God is one, one. That means me and you and the tree and the bug and the leaf and the ocean and the sun and the moon is one. The sun is God, I am God, the rock is God, the bug is God. We are all one. Now, it's very difficult for a human, such as myself or anyone else, to grasp that concept of universal oneness because if truly I am one, then that eliminates competition, that eliminates seeking out anything outside myself. Why would I have a relationship if we're all one? The answer is because we want love, right? So we have love, and then hopefully, if we're in a place of love, we attract love, and it's everything. But not everyone's at the same place in their evolution. I talk to people about the idea of different dimensions that we can, and I've mentioned this in other videos, you can live in other dimensions depending on where your reality is in this moment. There could be multiple versions of you in multiple realities happening all at different moments, and you are this version of this trajectory at this particular moment. Now, if you're listening to this video in this particular moment, I would think that you're a person who is on a higher timeline than others because I'm talking about something that's at a higher timeline that I personally did not know, and my earlier versions of myself did not even know to have conversations like this. Not only that, I would have probably not been able to fully understand what in the hell I'm saying right now, because it would sound so far-fetched, so not real in that reality, because I was living in such a dense base reality that I couldn't fathom that there's a higher vibrational realities out there, that you can live in a higher vibrational state. Now, that only, I think, happens through the state of meditation, through consciousness and awareness, through being present more and more and more, and also letting go of your previous attachments. I had so many attachments and I thought I didn't need to let go of them. So, in my spiritual journey, I don't know if anybody can relate, and if you did, please let me know, or if you're still struggling with this. I used to struggle with all kinds of things: women, drugs, parties, having fun, like seeking out fun. And I'd always be seeking outside of myself that fun. And what starts to happen is eventually in your journey, you have, it's not that you have to let go right now if you don't feel you have to let go, but at some point you want to let go. You start to let go. And because you see the world in a different way, you start seeing God and nature and universe aligning, that you're like, oh my God, I want to be doing this and don't want to be doing that. Now, sometimes these things will still come up for you. It's normal. Like food is a good example. I'm not a big foodie, but I still eat candy and stuff like that. Like you see it grabs hold of you in a certain sense, like, ooh, you want more and more and more of it. For a lot of people, it's coffee. I never drank coffee in my life. So for me, I shouldn't say never. I probably had a sip of it or here. I don't even remember the last time I ever had a sip of coffee. I can't even tell you. And but certain things pull on you a little bit more. For me, it was nicotine for a long time. Now it's been a couple months since I've had any nicotine, and it just dropped because the universe was telling me, give me signs to just drop it. Now I use a toothpick. I'm very grateful for the toothpick. I use candies, different things, and sometimes I just use breathing, or I have a little toy that I hold on to that helps me just like focus on the toy. But the idea is that eventually those things fall away because they're just not relevant. They're not relevant to your frequency of where you're at, and you can align yourself to another dimension. Now, I'm watching these, and it's funny because the movies, they say a soft disclosure. Like when you watch a movie, sci-fi movies, some of them are soft disclosures of actually things that people have experienced in their life, of what we should get ready for in our evolution of awareness of mankind. That you should understand that you're rising up, and that over the course of time you're going to rise, and you're going to become aware of the fact that the God inside of you is going to come out, and that beautiful part of that beautiful soul is going to rise up. No matter what you do to stop it, it's going to come. And it starts to happen ever so slowly, and you start to drop those things around you. And then all of a sudden, what I believe starts to happen is that your timelines start to collapse into one timeline. It's your highest level of timeline, that ultimately, and that's why you'll see those people become creators, right? Those people end up going on YouTube, or they go on TikTok, or they become writers, or they become animators, or they become movie directors. A lot of musicians, they become people that are trying to give over God in their own unique version. Now, a lot of times while you're growing and while you're rising in this way, you'll have distractions. Money is the biggest one, that people will tempt you with money to derail you from your actual, what you're trying to do, to get you to do things for them for money. And then the money gets you away from the God part of it. But ultimately, you can use both. You can use money is a fine thing as long as you understand what the mission is when you're doing things. Like, so you'll see, like in movies, like the movie I was just watching, it could seem like, oh, it's not about that. But if you understand, it really is about understanding consciousness. That there are people in the world that want to take people like ourselves that are in a place of consciousness, rising up and becoming aware of the fact that there are different dimensions and different realities, and they want to use that and understand, how do I get to where that person is without actually putting in the work. Now, for those of you who are on this journey, who truly understand this, and are in this kind of this void, this hallway part, where they're in this trajectory of rising and becoming more and more aware of themselves, they start to realize that the old version of yourself, it starts to go. It doesn't. It can't remain. That old person, it's like you're shedding skin. That skin is going. I have my skin on my left hand has been peeling for a very long. No matter what I use it, it continues to peel. And it reminds me of the shedding of my layers, right? That you're shedding your old ways. You're like the cocoon before the butterfly. That you're in that state of like, you're learning to fly, but you're not. You can't just go boom. You're gonna fly. But you have to take these steps, and what starts to happen, it starts to open up ever so slowly, because you know, it's like Ram Dass says, like, when you breathe and you breathe, you know you're the soul behind the body. This is just a costume, but at the same time, you have to you're embodying this costume, and your body, you're embodying this beautiful vessel becomes the highest level of it through your awakening process. I want to share this poem with you as I end today. It's called "We Are Immortal." Here we go. Immortality, we think, is absurd. After all, it's a ridiculous word. We can say the same thing about God, yet he's immortal without a bod. Then we realize he's inside us. Most will just call me sus, because I'll say I'm God, but you are too. It's all one, completely true. All the bad, all the good, it's all him, just misunderstood. We can create our own reality, positive or negative mentality. We were told by the elites how to live life, often causing so much strife. Following rules, following religion, which often leads to division. Creating competition with our neighbors, behind their backs, calling them traitors. When will we realize we're on the same team? When we wake up from that dream. Lifetime after lifetime, we continue to die. Perhaps another way we can try. A path of peace, a path of love. Look inside, he's not just above. Then the epiphany, you live forever, just need to breathe in order to remember. Consciousness lives on, you just continue. So immortality is really true. It is, we are immortal. This body, this vessel may not be immortal, but the consciousness, the embodiment of God is immortal, and the oneness is immortal. We are forever. We just need to surrender. We just need to remember. All it takes is a spark of an ember, a little spark, and hopefully this is the spark. I'm really hoping this is a spark for some of you to stick with wherever you're at. If you stayed this long in the video, you're on the right track. We're here together. I'm with you. I feel you. And send this out to other people that are wanting to feel this energy and to know that they're not alone. Like the video, share with others, subscribe, so that way we can join together in this mission. And then hopefully we have more people talking about this, and the more we do this together, the more we bring up the entire environment. I was just listening to something earlier, I think it was earlier today even, that was saying that when one soul starts to rise up and starts to remember, many, many other souls remember together. And that's probably why you're here. You're remembering at the same moment as I'm remembering. And because you're remembering, I'm remembering, it goes both ways. And I really, really appreciate you. I really appreciate you for listening, for watching. Thank you again. And I'll talk to you soon.